All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today, we're going to be reviewing God Emperor of Dune by Frank Herbert. This is book number 4 in his 6-volume Dune series of epic science fiction novels, classic novels. This one came out in 1981. Let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. I love this cover. I don't know who did the artwork for it. It's just dope. It matches, the style of the other covers in the series. It's just really cool. Now, God Emperor of Dune, 1981 is when it came out. It's kind of like the orphan bastard child of the Dune series. And let me explain that. So the first 3 books in the Dune series, Dune, Dune Messiah, and the Children of Dune, they kind of all tie together pretty well with the characters and similar characters in the same time frame. And then the last 2 novels in the series, Heretics of Dune and Chapter House Dune, also tie together with characters and timelines. But, God Emperor of Dune was kind of its own thing. It kind of takes place off on an island by itself, just floating out there in between the 2 series, or in between the 2 other stories, all on its own. So it's kind of like a standalone novel within the Dune universe, although it does have, it does have some of the same characters as the other Dune novels, but it's separated by 3,000 years. 3,000 years have gone by since the first Dune trilogy, Children of Dune ends, and then 3,000 years go by, and now we're talking about this book. It's got some of the same characters, though, but I'll explain why it has some of the same characters, even though it's 3,000 years in the future, past, whatever. Anyway, so the planet Dune is green with life. Now, in the first Dune novels, it's a desert planet. Now it's green with life. The spice that was in the sand, that the sandworms would, float through, and then the mining company, the Atreides mining company, would, try to get the spice out of the sand, and yada, yada, yada. And the spice was this thing that people could get addicted to, but they could also, it was also the substance, the only substance in the universe that would facilitate faster than light space travel. So it's a very valuable substance. And Leto, the son of Dune's savior, Paul Atreides. Now, Paul Atreides was in the first 3 books, at least the first 2. Anyway, Leto is the son. In the Children of Dune, there were 2 children. One was Leto. Now, Leto is 3,000 years later. He's still alive. Yet far from human. He's half man, half sandworm, as we can see on the cover. And people worship him. And he holds the fate of humanity in his hands. In fact, the fate of humanity hangs on his astonishing sacrifice to become half man, half sandworm. And he guards the last of the spice there on the planet Dune. He guards it, keeping it safe and secret. But this is the only way that he can keep peace throughout the galaxy. Because, here's the thing is, he's got the only means of space travel. He's got the only means of drugs. And he's just like, well, I'm keeping it safe. If anybody F's with me or F's with my ideas or goes against me, well, then, no more spice for you. No more space travel for you. So it's kind of like a good thing, but a bad thing. He's kind of a tyrant, but he's also keeping the peace. Now, we open the book with some characters, 3 characters, Ulot, and I don't know how to pronounce any of the names, Quateg and Siona, and they are being chased by D-wolves, and they're on this. They're being chased. There was 11 of them that went on this mission, um, and there's only 3 of them left. They're being chased by these wolves. Very interesting, very energetic, and action-packed opening. And these people, they seek revenge on Leto, the half man, half sandworm, and especially the girl Siona Atreides, um, who has ties into. I mean, she's got family ties into the half man, half sandworm guy. She has stolen something very important from Leto, and that's kind of the basic beginnings of the plot. Now, Leto, there's a couple other characters I want to mention, and a few themes of the book. I don't want to get too much into the details, but before I get to those, I want to just say this was always kind of my least favorite book, just because it kind of floated out in the middle of nowhere in the Dune universe. But after reading this, I actually rereading it, I actually gained a major, huge, more appreciation for it. I was riveted to this book. I actually enjoyed everything that I was reading in it, even though I knew it was just kind of a one-off sort of little standalone. Well, it's not little; it's about 500 pages. Standalone novel in the Dune universe. I was actually like really bought into what Frank Herbert was doing here, especially with the way that he writes. His prose is so rich and gorgeous. He's just one of the best writers I've read. And just the story that he unfolded was riveting to me. I'll be honest, a little silly at times with just the little fits of rage that Leto, the half man, half sandworm, would kind of have. Just seemed a little silly. But and one of the things was about Duncan, Idaho, which I was going to, was Duncan, Idaho is a character that was huge in these first 3 books. Now he's being sort of, Leto shows, the half man, half sandworm Leto shows a lot of love and disdain for Duncan, Idaho. Now, Duncan, Idaho is in this story because he keeps getting regenerated and regenerated and reborn and resurrected over and over and over and over for 3,000 years. There's all these different versions of him, of Duncan, Idaho, that has dealt with the sandworm, and it always kind of ends poorly. So Leto has this love-hate relationship with this guy, Duncan, because Duncan is a popular character. He's a popular person in the Dune universe, and but at the same time, Duncan, Idaho himself struggles with the constant cloning and regeneration of himself. His mind and body is just being regenerated over and over and over through the centuries. He's kind of in his own personal Groundhog Day, if you'd like, and he's really starting to get sick of it at this point. And so we're dealing with that plot element of this guy, Duncan, Idaho. And then, but this relationship between the young girl, Siona Atreides, and the sandworm, Leto, and Duncan, Idaho, and the sandworm, Leto, those are the, amongst all the space opera, action and adventure, and crazy sci-fi stuff that's in this book, the soul of the book is the relationship between half man, half sandworm, Duncan, Idaho, and Siona, and how they kind of interact, how they have different viewpoints and discussions on the uneasy peace that is being kept through the galaxy, through Leto, the sandworm guy, as he guards the spice. It doesn't, just because he's keeping peace doesn't mean he's not sadistic, and he's very sadistic. And this delves into the philosophies of leadership and religion and gender roles in the military, life and death and resurrection and love. Again, as the half man, half sandworm is conflicted in his own head. Siona Atreides has got a lot of conflicts in her own head. Duncan, Idaho's got a lot of things he's going through. And the other surrounding cast of characters all play into this. It was just all of these relationships and sort of soap opera-iness that goes on with them, along with just the dope-ass science fiction elements of this book, really vaulted it into, from like my least favorite Dune book that Frank Herbert has written, to like it now, it compares with all the rest. It just fits in perfectly for me, and it's an action adventure. Actually, I think this one has more action and adventure in it than any of the others. To a certain point. I mean, I'd have to. I don't know if there's any sort of scale. Well, anyway, let's just give this. Well, this is a 10 out of 10. All so far, the bunch of Dune books I've read by Frank Herbert. Let's just face it, they're all going to get 10s out of 10s. And I was going into this thinking it might be my 7 out of 10 book, or maybe I'd leap to 8 out of 10. But no, it actually, upon this reread, leapt up to a 10 out of 10. And now I say it compares to all the other Dune books out there.